confluence of civilized worlds operated on a simple principle that had served the galaxy well for 10,000 years. The strong devour the weak, and everyone else gets out of the way. It was elegant, really. No messy moral debates, no tedious negotiations about rights or ethics. If your species could glass a planet, you owned it. If you couldn't, well, you'd better hope someone who could like you enough to keep you as pets, which is why everyone found humans so deeply, profoundly confusing. Ambassador Thorne, Vextor of the Zkrell Empire, said, his mandibles clicking with barely concealed amusement. Surely you jest. You're telling me that your species voluntarily limits its military capabilities based on, what did you call them? Conventions? Marcus Thorne, Earth's chief diplomat to the confluence, maintained his pleasant smile. He'd been maintaining it for 3 years now, and his face muscles had probably evolved new configurations by this point. The Geneva Conventions, yes, along with the Hague Protocols, the Lunar Accords, and about 17 other documents that essentially boil down to, please don't be horrible to each other. The assembly hall erupted in that chittering, roaring, whistling sound that passed for laughter among the 47 species present. The Zkrell delegation was practically vibrating with mirth, their exoskeletons creating a sound like 1,000 crickets having a party. But why? Gorvak, High Chancellor of the Confluence, leaned forward on his crystalline throne. His species, the Morteki, had claimed leadership by the traditional method. They'd eaten the previous leaders. If you have the power to destroy, why create rules preventing it? Thorne adjusted his utterly pointless tie. Humans were the only species that strangled themselves with fabric for fashion, and cleared his throat. Because, Chancellor, we discovered something important about ourselves early in our spacefaring days. We needed rules, desperately. Weakness, Vextor spat the word like it tasted bad, which given Zkrell dietary habits was saying something. You create rules because you're too weak to face the reality of existence. The strong consume. The weak, yes, I've heard your species motto, Thorne interrupted, which was apparently the height of rudeness in Zkrell culture. Good. Tell me, Ambassador Vextor, what happened to the Yunari? A brief silence fell over the assembly. The Yunari had been exterminated by the Zkrell 2 centuries ago. Standard practice, really. They'd resisted annexation, so they'd been removed from existence. Their homeworld now served as a mining operation. They were weak, Vextor said simply. They failed to defend themselves. Ah, Thorne nodded sagely. And their art, their music, their mathematical proofs that your own scientists still use? Irrelevant. Strength is all that. They wrote beautiful poetry, Thorne continued, his smile never wavering. Did you know that? Probably not. Hard to appreciate poetry when you're busy turning poets into protein paste. The human's tone remained light, conversational, but something in the room shifted. Maybe it was the way his eyes didn't match his smile. Maybe it was the way his military attaché, Colonel Rivera, had stopped pretending to check her datapad. Is that a threat, Ambassador? Gorvak's voice carried the amused condescension of someone who'd never met a species that could challenge the confluence. Threat? Oh, goodness, no. Thorne laughed, and it sounded genuine. That was somehow worse. We don't make threats, we make requests. We file protests. We pursue diplomatic solutions. We're the galaxy's pacifists, remember? The doormats, I believe you called us last week. More laughter from the assembly. The whistling conclave of Sirius actually composed an impromptu mockery song, which was their species' equivalent of a sick burn. 3 days later, the Kepler Station massacre changed everything. The human trading post had been in disputed space, technically. The Zkrell claimed it fell within their expansion zone. Humans disagreed. Normal species would have settled this with a quick war, winner takes all, but humans had insisted on negotiations, mediations, and, the galaxy's favorite joke, international space law. So the Zkrell settled it their way. 17 human vessels destroyed, 10,000 civilians spaced, the station's reactor deliberately overloaded to ensure no survivors. Vextor delivered the news personally, mandibles spread in what his species considered a grin. An unfortunate accident, he said, not even trying to hide his satisfaction. Perhaps next time your people will recognize Zkrell's sovereignty. The assembly waited for the human response. Would they finally show some backbone? Declare war? Demand blood? Thorne stood slowly, straightened his tie again, and spoke in measured tones. The United Earth government demands a full investigation. We call for economic sanctions against the Zkrell Empire. We request the Confluence condemn this unprovoked attack on civilians. The laughter this time was deafening. Gorvak actually fell off his throne, his crystalline form chiming with mirth. Sanctions? You respond to slaughter with paperwork? We respond to violence with civilization, Thorne replied quietly. You respond to strength with weakness. Vextor's translator struggled to convey his contempt. Your species is a joke. 10,000 dead, and you file complaints. Colonel Rivera stepped forward, whispered something in Thorne's ear. The ambassador's smile flickered for just a moment. I see, he said to her, then turned back to the assembly. I've just been informed that the Zkrell Empire has also seized 3 human mining vessels in the Vega system. Crew complement of 200 each. The beginning of your education, Vextor confirmed. You will learn your place, or you will cease to exist. This is the way of the galaxy. Protocol 7 remains sealed, Thorne said, as if that meant something. Your protocols mean nothing. Gorvak had recovered his dignity and his throne. Your conventions, your accords, your laws, all worthless paper and wasted breath. The galaxy respects only power. I'll be sure to include that in my report, Thorne said mildly. The mockery continued for months. Human colonies were raided with impunity. Trade routes were strangled. Every protest was met with laughter. Every request for justice became a new joke for the assembly. Humanity's military, such as it was, seemed to be retreating. Border colonies were evacuated. Fleet positions were pulled back. The running gag was that humans were so peaceful, they were defeating themselves to save other species the trouble. Look at them scurry, Vextor announced during one memorable session. They abandoned their own territories rather than fight. Perhaps we should declare the entire human race a protected species. You know, like we do with particularly amusing pets. Even species that had been neutral began taking advantage. After all, if humans wouldn't fight back, why not grab some of their resources? Their technology was decent. Their worlds were well developed. It was free real estate, as the humans might say. Thorne's protest grew shorter, more perfunctory. His famous smile began to look tired. Rivera and the other military attachés stopped attending sessions altogether. Giving up already? Gorvak asked during what would be the last normal session of the Confluence. How disappointing. We expected at least a bit of resistance before your complete surrender. We're not surrendering, Thorne said. We're evacuating. Same thing. No. For the first time in 3 years, Thorne's smile disappeared entirely. It's really not. The final straw came when the Zkrell destroyed the human embassy on Proxima. Not raided, not occupied. Destroyed. Antimatter bombs that left nothing but component atoms. 300 diplomatic staff, including Thorne's own daughter, simply erased. The assembly didn't even pretend it was an accident this time. Thorne listened to the report in silence. Then he stood, straightened his tie one last time, and spoke 6 words that would echo through history. You've mistaken kindness for weakness. He walked out without another word. Within hours, every human diplomat, trader, and citizen in Confluence space was gone. Recalled, vanished. Earth went dark. All communications ceased. The border regions, already mostly evacuated, became an information black hole. Running home to cry? Vextor suggested, but his humor sounded forced. Because in the silence that followed humanity's withdrawal, something else could be heard. A quiet sound. Like breathing. Like something very large and very patient finally deciding it was time to wake up. The universe was about to learn why humans had needed all those rules in the first place.